Welcome to the Coaches Show. I'm Darrin Joines, Williamson County Schools Athletic Director. Got a couple special guests today talking about tonight's WCTV Game of the Week. Nolensville at Summit. We got Coach Paul Derrick here. Coach, welcome.
Yep, thanks for having me.
Coach Brian Coleman of Summit. Coach, welcome again.
Glad to be here.
You guys both, I think this is your second trip as the Game of the Week, so pleased to have you back. Again, late season game. Week 10, we'll call it Week 9 because it's our 9th game. And then, obviously, you finish out the seasons next week. It's a non-region matchup. Next week, we've got Summit Indy. That'll be for a playoff spot. We've got Nolensville versus Page. That'll be for a region championship. So, not to look ahead, but you got big things coming up. Let me ask you this, and I'll start here with Coach Derrick. Do you, because this, I mean, it's a game, it means something to you. But do you do some things in practice or maybe even the game this week that kind of is something you might do or need to do next week?
Any new wrinkles?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think so. I mean, we're approaching it like any other game. You know, we're going down there trying to win the football game. We're not going to try to mess around and do some stuff that's not going to help us do that. Or, so, yeah, I mean, obviously we got a really big game coming up following this game, but we're not looking past this week at all.
Coach Coleman, anything you do in practice thinking about Indy?
No, not at all. We did that
I
fall
think you're
break.
both lying.
We did that fall break. We went Monday, Tuesday on fall break, and defensively we worked on Indy.
Okay.
So we've got a couple days in.
What about, let me ask you this. What Summit tries to do offensively.
Yeah.
You know, you don't take care of what you need to take care of and start looking ahead.
Well, that's exactly why we have to work on Summit this week. We can't be, trying to new wrinkles or whatever it may be. I mean, they challenge you formationally with what they do, and then their scheme is really, really good. So they pose some challenges by putting people in conflict, and then you obviously they want to run the football, so they're physical. So we have to, number one, stop the run, and then the things they do off of the run that poses challenges for you. So we're going to have to, play with great eye discipline, have to be sound in our run fits and our gap integrity, and then we're going to have to play with physicality.
And Coach Coleman, kind of the same question, but you start preparing for what Indy does offensively, which is a little bit different.
Totally
then it's going to mess you up this week.
No, it's totally different. You couldn't do that and then go and play Nolensville. There's no way you could do that. They're so different now. So no, we're really looking at momentum right now. We're trying to stack some wins. Last week was our second win, so trying to get some momentum going into Independence. So keeping everything the same and just trying to get better.
To me, I think this one tonight feels like a playoff matchup anyway, because it's a county game.
Sure. Yeah. We've talked about that with our kids all week. It's not a region game, but it's, talk about, taking pride in those county games and being competitive against other Williamson County schools and get to go down to Summit and play in, I'm sure, a tremendous atmosphere, and it ought to be a fun night. So, yeah, I think it could have a playoff atmosphere just because of the way the student sections kind of go back and forth and the bands and all that.
Yeah, it totally feels like a region game now, just because of inside Williamson County.
It's interesting looking at you guys. You've kind of barely missed each other. You're in 5A, you're in 4A, then you move, then you move. So it's like, this is like a rivalry that's almost really happened.
Yeah, and we played back.
Yeah, when we were 4A.
Yeah.
So I think it always kind of made sense to play this game.
Yeah.
Because like you said, we are kind of close in numbers and just kind of missing each other. So, and then being in county just kind of makes sense.
What I always appreciate too, and I don't want to keep overstating this, but I say it every time you guys are in here as coaches, relationships amongst the coaches. And obviously this is a good one here. Huge. That factors in playing these games too, right?
In fact, when I'm scheduling, I'm looking at head coaches. I'm looking at programs, especially when you're doing scrimmages. You're looking at, what kind of program they run. I mean, is it going to be, I don't know. Some head coaches don't control their team very well, if that makes sense. So,
sure.
And you don't want to get in a bad situation like that. So, yeah, when we're scheduling, definitely look at programs, definitely look at the head coaches that run that program.
Same.
Yeah, I think for us, definitely all the things he touched on, but balance too, right? Like you want to play teams that are going to get you prepared for your region games and then hopefully for the playoffs, but also maybe some games that you feel good about to get some wins and kind of give your team some confidence, right? I think that's a fine line when you're scheduling. You definitely want to play good programs. You definitely want to play challenging matchups, but also, you don't want to get your team beat up. You don't want to, start off 0-2, 0-3, whatever, and then they lack confidence. So I think for us, just the balancing aspect is what's kind of challenging.
I'll tell you what's tricky, and I was going to mention this later, but since you brought up scheduling, let's talk about it now. with football, I mean, you got to do it in other sports too, but I think in particular your sport is you've almost got to predict what you're going to be like for the next couple of years because you're scheduling those games and you have to sort of look forward. You guys are right in the middle of that right now.
Right in the middle of it. Yeah, well, you mean we're awaiting region weeks, I guess, is what we're at right now, and we're really awaiting who's in our region because that can change. They can, in our region, they can put a Clarksville team in there or something like, or have Overton out. You know, never know what's going to happen. So, I mean, we've got some gentlemen's agreements right now on what weeks we can play, but home away affects that too. So, I mean, there's just a lot of factors that go into scheduling.
Yeah, so talk about this, Coach Derek. Talk about, and Coach Coleman jump in here too, how this one came about in the first place and then what you're planning on doing moving forward.
Yeah, Coach mentioned we played, I don't remember what year it was, but when we were 4A and they were 5A, and then I think
17-18.
Is that what it was?
Yep,
Okay.
17-18.
So then I think the next cycle I think we missed each other, and then it just kind of made sense to get him back on the schedule. So and it worked out like Coach mentioned with the region schedule and the weeks that he had open and everything. So just kind of worked out, and it's a good game for us.
And we're going to try to keep it going too.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's great. I really do. Talking about that history, Coach Derek, you were assistant coach, I believe, that first time you played.
That's correct.
In 17. Coach Coleman had been the head coach the entire time. Right now, Nolensville leads the series 2-1, but I look at the last two scores. I know one was 18, but looking back at last year's score, too, 17-14 and 13-8. I could see tonight being another one of those kind of games. What do you think?
I hope so. I hope it's close. Nolensville's a good football team.
But low score wouldn't surprise you.
No, I think with like I said, Coach, they want to run the football, and you know, when you run the football, obviously the clock's running. So if you know, and what they do is very challenging to get off the field, right? I mean, if you don't win first downs and they get in third and short, it's going to be very difficult to get off the field. And then when they string drives together, that's going to shorten the game. And I think that's, you know, has to do with a little bit why the scores are like they have been. But yeah, so for us, I think we just, you know, we got to stop the run. We got to try to get our offense more possessions to maybe put more points on the board. But yeah, I could definitely see it being a low-scoring game.
And Coach Coleman says, yes, we want it to be.
Oh yes, definitely.
Low-scoring.
Oh yeah, we're not trying to outscore anybody. that's for sure.
Well, I've always said, you know, it's kind of like I always say this about golf. It's not an essay; it's a fill in the blank. It's about getting the W. No matter how it happens, you try to do what you can to put your team in the best position. You know, I had this happen to me as a basketball coach, where the other team's trying to hold the ball, and you know, I can't believe it. Whatever you got to do. If it means run the ball, if it means throw it every down, as a coach, you've got to decide what's best for us in not only each season, but really each game. You got to do what you got to do to try to win.
100%. Put your kids in the best spot that you can to win, to be successful.
You know, I always think it's interesting. You know, people just assume, oh, let's throw it all the time. That may not. First of all, who's going to throw it and who's going to catch it sometimes is part of it, and your defense may be set up a different way. So it's a lot more to it than sometimes people think it is.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always about winning the football game however you need to, right? Like, go back to the Centennial game for us. Didn't score an offensive touchdown, got a defensive touchdown and a field goal, won the game 10-6. I'm not mad about that. You know what I mean?
Of course you're not.
So yeah, you're just gonna kind of do whatever you got to do, and kind of the flow of the game, the way the game's going. If your defense is playing really well, you might play to that, or if you're struggling to stop people, you may have to be more aggressive offensively. So yeah, I think you just do what you got to do to try to win the game.
Yeah, and that affects your decisions, maybe on a fourth down or something like that. So a lot of things go into every game.
You know, and I think what's interesting about your game too, I've always kind of noticed this. Sometimes at the end of the half, maybe you're doing something because you know you do get the ball or you don't get the ball to start the second half. You know, hey, we got 2 straight possessions, we're going to have the ball, or we know we're not going to get it, so maybe we need to push it a little bit offensively to end the first half. Does that ever come into play there too?
Sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I think all those, you know, game management things come into play when you're a head coach, and yeah, definitely, like, I'm a big defer guy. If we win the toss, I like to try to. I feel like we gain a possession in the second half. If you can, you know, get something going offensively in the first half. But yeah, again, I think those situations come up, and you just gotta go with your gut.
Coach, I don't think you were totally, Coach Coleman, I think you were totally buying my set up there when I said that.
I mean, yeah, whatever. It's the flow of the game, how many timeouts you have, where you at, how good's the quarterback play. I mean, there's a lot of things going on to that. But, you know, that possession, I guess it means a lot. But, I mean, you got a minute to go. You're trying to figure out, you know, how many timeouts we got, where we at. I mean, we work on it in practice, but still got a lot to do. I mean, if we're not throwing the ball very well, the line's not protecting the quarterback, we're not going to drop back 3 times and go backwards and then have to punt it. So a lot of factors go into that and how the team's playing at the time.
Let's talk about your games last week. Obviously, it turned out well for both of you. Nolensville 37-7 region win over the school formerly known as Hillwood, James Lawson. Your quarterback, man, Jack Dever, really playing well for you. Had a 7-yard rushing touchdown to open the scoring. Lawson ties it up, and then you go 30 straight to get that win, 37-7.
Yeah, you know, kind of didn't start off as fast as we wanted to. That was our whole thing going in that game. We wanted to kind of start fast, and you know, Lawson came in there and got it tied up, and then we kind of got it clicking on offense. Like you mentioned, Jack Dever had another great game, and you know, I think he threw for over 200 yards, but made some big plays, connected with Landon Smotherman on a big touchdown that kind of broke the game wide open. But yeah, very pleased with how we responded when Lawson came down and tied it up.
And Mr. Smotherman had a nice week. He caught one, he ran one in. He's homecoming king.
Yeah.
He's got the whole thing going last week.
Big night for him. His dad was the prom king when he was in high school. So,
Sure, his dad told you that, right?
No, they actually announced it at the Glencliff game. He went to Glencliff, and they said we got a special guest in the house, and they announced his dad over the PA. Wow, it's pretty funny.
What was Landon's reaction to that?
I don't know if he heard it or not.
That's fun. Hey, Coach Derek, tell about your team offensively. We talk about what you do defensively all the time, but your offense really has progressed this entire season. Seems like they're kind of peaking right now in terms of what they're putting together.
Yeah, I think we're kind of coming together not only offensively but as a team as a whole, really at the right time. Those guys on offense, our coaches, they do a great job of getting those kids coached up every week and coming up with a good plan. And had a really good plan last week against Lawson. And I just think the more they keep playing together, the more confidence they're starting to have in one another, especially with Jack and the receivers. And then we've been able to get the run game going a little bit in the last couple of weeks, which has been helpful.
Coach Coleman, 48-7 win over Overton. Now, I'm not going to say, I saw a pic of you after the game, and I'm not going to say it was a state championship big smile. But you had a big smile on your face. You had that 6-game losing streak. You're actually relatively healthy compared to where you've been week 2 through 6. I know you were pleased, not only for you and your staff, but those kids. They're working hard.
They're working hard, and fighting through things. So, I mean, yeah, you can't take wins for granted. Sometimes we do. So, it was nice to get one after, you know, I've been on that bad losing streak. But like you said, getting kids back healthy, got all 5 starting offensive linemen since week 1 are back now. You know, nobody at this point's 100%, but they're fighting through things and playing hard. So it's fun to get those guys back and trying to get healthy now.
Mason McElhaney, a couple rushing touchdowns, a couple passing touchdowns to Luke Oliver. You get that pick 6 right there at the end of the half, Aiden Britton, and you're up 48-0 at the half, and that allows you to get healed up even maybe more because you're playing some other guys in the second half.
Yes, and Aiden Britton, sophomore, doing a great job in the secondary, playing corner and safety. So he's moved around and just a smart, intelligent football player. And so the second half was kind of fast, which was good. Got some guys in there that usually don't play, get them some more experience.
I think that's important too. They're working hard too. It's always nice for both of you when you can get some other guys in because they're putting their time in too.
Oh yeah, and then the varsity guys get a kick out of seeing some of those guys get out there and get time. They're yelling at them, so it's fun.
Talk about this, Coach Coleman. And again, not that you threw the game or you weren't trying to win. We talked about this when you were here the week you were playing Ravenwood. You had some guys still pretty darn banged up that wanted to try to play that game. Maybe you tried to a little bit, but really holding those guys back, that's going to help you here as you're entering this playoff push.
There was a lot of evaluation during that week to figure out, who can go and is it going to get worse? Is the injury going to get worse? Something will get worse. But and then we had fall break after that. So that was had to hold some kids out that really, if it was a indie game or if it was first round, second round playoffs, they would probably play. But just trying to get, like you said, get to the push toward the end of the year.
Did you have to say to any of them, once they felt better coming off fall break and they get that Overton win, did you have to say, see, I told you needed to hold back?
No, I'll never do that. They'll figure it out.
Hey, let's talk about your region outlook a little bit. So we got on 6A, we've got Brentwood, Ravenwood atop of the league. Looks like they're going to be playing for a region title next week. And then Franklin's pretty solid third. And then next week, we talked about that border battle, Independent Summit. The winner will go to the playoffs. Looking at Region 6 5A, Nolensville and Page, top of the league right now. You guys are a game up because you played one more game. Page Centennial this week. Don't count Centennial out in that one for sure. And then Hillsboro looking like they're going to be playoff team number 4. So, Coach Derek, let's start with you. You'll have a home game for the playoffs no matter what, but you've kind of, I would say quietly, but everybody's talked about Page, and they should. Page is really good.
Sure.
But you're going to be in with the shot to win the region title at home next week.
Yeah, it's exciting, man. And it's just, a testament to our kids and how hard they've worked and how well they've played in those region games. And that'll be a great atmosphere. Obviously, Page is having a tremendous season, and it'll be a challenge for us, but that's a challenge we're going to accept. And anytime you can play for a championship, that's exciting for your kids, and to do it on your home field, that'll be an awesome opportunity for us.
And I'm going to guess, if you look at your two teams, again, because of the pub they've kind of had, I would think going into that game, you got a chance to maybe be a little looser than they are, potentially.
I don't know if I'll be loose, but but yeah, man, we talk about it all the time with our kids. We just want to play free, right? Just trust your preparation. If you prepare the right way during the week, the game's supposed to be fun, right? You can't worry about making a mistake. Just go be where your feet are at and go play the game and have fun. That's what high school football is all about.
And Coach Coleman, kind of like last year, a lot of playoff implications in your final game against Independence, the border battle. This year it's at Independence. Last year it meant third or fourth, and ultimately that was a big difference in trying to get to the second round, which you got to. This year it's for that final playoff spot, and we know, being in this league, that you get in, then you're going to have a chance in week 1.
I mean, that's the goal. Get in and see what happens. I mean, it's looking like Stewart's Creek over there is probably going to be number 1. Probably feeling like maybe Antioch is 2, and it would be Smyrna 3, and then Cane Ridge 4 over there. So, let's go see what can happen. I mean, we've played a tough schedule, and that's the reason we do it, so we can prepare ourselves for the playoffs.
The Independent Summit matchup always has a little extra to it. Now it's the last week of the year.
Yeah,
it means to keep playing, so it's going to be awesome. It really is.
It'll be fun.
Let's talk about your teams a little bit more specifically. Offensively, let's start with you, Coach Derek. We've touched on some of this. Talk about Smotherman. We talked about Dever. He's really gotten better as the year has gone by. But Smotherman, all-region wide receiver last year. You're getting him the ball.
Yeah.
However you can get him the ball. He's really played well for you, too.
Yeah, and really, I mean, like you mentioned last year, being an all-region player, I mean, he's been a good player for us for a long time. And he's kind of a Swiss Army knife, right? I mean, he can do a lot of things. He's a slot receiver. We can handle the ball. We can obviously throw it to him. We got a little package for him at quarterback. He's our holder. We have a little rugby punt package with him. So he's just a really good athlete with a really unique skill set. So we just try to really tap into that each week and find different ways to get him the ball.
And as your offense has improved during the year, that sophomore you got at running back, Tristan Lithmasai, he's really played well. Had some really big games for you.
He has, man. He has, and I tell you what, we knew he could run, and we weren't really sure about between the tackles how well he could hold up, but he's run hard and he's run physical this year. So he's having a really good year. I think he went over 100 yards last week. Busted a big long touchdown run there late in the game. But yeah, he's done a great job for us, and like I said, he's a kid that can really run, but really pleased with the way he's been able to run between the tackles as well.
Coach Coleman, we always talk about Mason McElhaney, and rightfully so. He gets 2 rushing touchdowns, 2 passing touchdowns to Luke Oliver. When we go back to media day, when we're assuming there's going to be a pretty healthy team the entire year, I think that's what you were kind of thinking it would look like. Yeah. He would still be that running threat that he's always been, but that passing threat too.
Would get better at throwing, yeah. And Luke's a good receiver, and he's fighting through some things and not fighting through some injuries, but he's battling out there too and has some really good catches. Mason, protection's getting better with the offensive lines. Everything starts flowing better. But yeah, I mean, Mason had a great game last week. Did everything we asked him to do and took and ran when he could.
And that offensive line, you had them all last week.
Got them all back. Thank goodness. I mean, they're getting better. We just wish we had a few more weeks. You know what I mean? So the practices have been really good the past couple of weeks. So just trying to get some momentum here.
Obviously, the energy changes after that win, and plus, you control your own destiny for the playoffs.
Yeah, we can just and it's against Independence, so it'll be fun.
Can't wait. All right, let's talk about your defenses here. Coach Darrin, you give up less than 200 yards last week. You've had that a few times this year.
It felt like more than that. Yeah, our defense.
Coach never being happy.
Our defense has really come along. I think after the Centennial game that we really started to gel on that side of the ball, and I don't know if I mentioned it here or somewhere else, but just not each kid not only knowing what their job is, but how their job fits in the scheme of the defense, like kind of the bigger picture stuff, right? So they've always played hard. We always try to play physical, but I think they've just really been locked in on not only what is my job, but why do I fit here, or why does Coach want me to do that? I think understanding the bigger picture is really kind of where we're at right now, and it's really helped us to be playing the type of defense we want to play.
And Coach Coleman, you talk about the job that Coach Taylor's done for you defensively. You also give up less than 200 yards last week. And now maybe you don't have to borrow so many guys from the defense to play offense. I know you said Coach Taylor wasn't totally happy about that, but it's the way it is.
Yeah, we're borrowing Mekhi a lot now, and he's not really thrilled about that, but we're playing him a lot at tight end. But, you get later in the year, you get in better shape, and just trying to win football games to do it and get the best 11 out there. But, yeah, Coach Taylor and his staff do a great job. Did a great job last week. Turnovers was a big thing. We got a few turnovers, so that's hustling the football. It's ripping it out or getting interceptions. So that's always huge.
Talk about your special teams. I'll start here with Coach Darrin. As you get here close to playoff time, not that you're going to be trying to totally trick people, but any nuances there that you're doing special teams wise, either defending kind of trick plays or maybe throwing some in, fake punts and those kind of things?
We practice some stuff every week. We haven't busted any out yet. Just maybe the week for it. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I think, and even going back to last year for us, I felt like we weren't. That was maybe a weakness on our football team, right? So we've placed a heavy emphasis on special teams this year, and it's really paid off for us, and we've been pretty good in the kicking game. But yeah, I mean, I think each week we're going to, obviously work special teams. You're going to practice your fakes or your deceptives, whatever you want to call them, and then going back to what we talked about, the flow of the game or whatever, when you bust them out, I think just kind of it depends on how the game's going. And maybe what kind of game it is. Maybe a non-region game may not be the time for it.
To show it off.
Well, think about this. Your game, the game was Centennial. Total special teams made a difference.
Field position, man. Just flipping the field. If you were going with the wind, then you had a tremendous advantage. I think Centennial's kicker kicked a 54-yard field goal, and then if you were going into the wind and you had to punt, I mean, it was brutal. So yeah, I mean, but we were able to play pretty well on special teams in that game, and I do think that was a big factor in the game.
Coach Cohen, what about for you guys going into the playoffs, or hopefully your team going to the playoffs?
Yeah, any type of tight game, special teams is going to be a key. The kickoffs, the field positions, the punt, stuff like that. We worked on a little quick kick with Mason, to kind of deceive the defense a little bit. So I mean, there's little things you work on. So yeah, you're right. It's close games. Something special teams is going to matter.
Which, you get in the playoffs, obviously, the games are going to get tighter. They seem to anyway. Mm-hmm. Not going to trick anybody either at that point, generally speaking, with what you normally do. So the special teams could be a difference there. Let's talk about tonight's game a little bit more. Coach Darrin, improvements you're still looking to make offensively, not only for this week, but heading into the playoffs?
I think just continue to be able to run the football the way we have the last couple weeks, and then continue. Jack's played really well, made good decisions, and just continue to develop that timing and continuity with the receivers, and maybe be able to throw the ball down the field a little bit more and connect on some of those longer throws. But yeah, I mean, I think not just offensively, but as a team, too many penalties last week, way too many penalties. So that's something we're gonna have to clean up going forward.
Coach Coleman, something you always talked about, or have talked about since I've known you, come playoff time, the weather gets colder.
It's nasty.
You're going to have to stop the run. You're going to have to be able to run it a little bit if you want to be successful.
Yeah, you would think it'd start getting cold. It hadn't really done it yet. But
Global warming.
but maybe, yeah.
That's another conversation.
Is there a soapbox somebody's going to get on? But, yeah, it's usually when you get later in the year, you're going to have a rain game, so you got to be unconditional and things like that. And it gets colder, the ball gets harder and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, I'm just old school. I just think running the football is later in the year is how you're supposed to win football games. Play good defense and run the football.
Well, and you talk about, I know that weather week, you guys ended up playing Thursday. Franklin was a home team. They maybe had a little more decision making in that. I don't think we've gotten a chance to talk about this, Coach Derek. I love that y'all played on that night. It was great. Your crowd was unbelievable that night. They really were, and it was terrible weather.
Yeah, it was a wild. I've never been in a game like that before, but it was a wild game.
So I've always thought for football folks that was like kind of what you wanted. When people started moving the game, I'm like, y'all are like the basketball guys now, wanting to play inside.
Well, that week you couldn't tell with the front and what it was doing. It was just like a roll of the dice.
And lightning's a tricky thing.
Best job in the world is being a weatherman.
That's right.
We went to Green Hill. There was a 5% chance of rain. We didn't put any of the rain gear on any of the cameras. Didn't bring anything. Got drenched. Rained the whole three quarters. Drenched. So
got a feeling you won't do that anymore.
5%. Yeah, we're gonna be prepared. You're right. The lightning is the biggest thing. I mean, if it's raining, that's fine. We've got turf fields now. Usually, unless we're away. That's fun. It's fun for the kids to experience. I mean, man, they're going to be talking about that Centennial game.
Yeah, they will.
It was fun.
It was something to be there. All right, let's talk about defensively. Again, you're kind of tough on your defense. You said, hey, it feels like we gave up a lot more yards. It was like 170 last week. What are keys tonight defending that offense, but also moving into the playoffs?
Well, tonight, eye discipline is going to be at a premium with what they do offensively, and then stopping the run. I mean, they make no bones about it. They want to run the football and play physical. So we have to play with eye discipline, stop the run, and then play physical, and maybe get some turnovers, hopefully.
Coach Cohen, what about your squad?
Limit big plays. Coach said earlier he wants to get the ball down the field. We want to stop that. So just can't give up big plays. Make them snap it over and over again, and just like you said, force turnovers. Turnovers are a big part of winning a football game. Any kind of
the senior night, all that stuff's over?
We've got senior night, so I've already told Coach we got to be off the field at 6:30. So he can go on the practice field if he wants to, but no,
it won't be an issue.
We'll go in the locker room for 30 minutes and sit there and get cold again or not have to re-warm up. But but also you can tell the seniors this is could be your last game at home. So there's some motivation there. Also, I think the motivation goes better than the distraction.
Well, it's interesting in football because you get 5 guaranteed home games most years. I guess it could be 6 depending on how the schedule went. But really, you guys deal with that with almost half of your home games because you've got a senior night. You've got home. There's always something going on.
Homecoming is a whole lot more of a distraction than senior night, I think, other than having to get off the field early.
Yeah, I think the whole day of homecoming is, I don't know how it is at your place, but that whole day is just a brutal day.
They're running around everywhere.
Yeah, guys, we want to be out there. We want to coach the powder puff game.
And
I guess now we have flag powder puffs over.
And we talked about we hardly ever get to pick when it is either. The administration or the student council or somebody is saying, "Oh, that's a better date." It was Brentwood for us. I mean, geez, that was.
Yeah, and you were going, "Hey, Coach Finch, what?"
Yeah, sorry.
We're not trying to say it was like.
And he's over there. They're scheduling us for homecoming.
That's right.
Yeah.
Every football coach is doing that, though. Can you believe they don't respect you?
They don't respect you. You're a homecoming team.
Gentlemen, appreciate you being here. Good luck tonight and moving into the postseason.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us for the Coaches Show. We'll see you next time.